Entrevistas Alfa.
Hola, yo soy Cristina Tenorio de Alfa 91.3, donde todo nace. Estamos muy felices because today we have this sweet, sophisticated flashback with powerful and beautiful lyrics. So, dear boy Ben, welcome here. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me.
So, Ben, a few days ago, this is January 2023, it was
Mhm.
your birthday.
Yeah, it was.
Happy birthday. So, Ben, which was the best birthday present you got when you were younger?
Oh my God. Honestly, this is gonna sound like an obvious answer, but it was the guitar. When I got my first guitar, I used to clip out photos from magazines and stuff and then put them on my pillow. I don't know if that's weird looking back, if that's a strange thing to do. But when I got my guitar, I think it really changed my whole life. I just felt like anything was possible.
How old were you, Ben?
I was 10 years old and it was too heavy for me to hold.
Wow. Oh my God. Do you remember the signature of the guitar, the brand? Yeah.
Yeah, it was a black and white Squire and it was not very good, but I wrote what I think are still some of my best songs when I was 10 years old on it.
So, Ben, when was the moment that you decided, yes, I want to be a rock star. I want to share my music with somebody else and make a band?
Well, that's a great question. I think it took a long time for me to find my actual voice. Like I've been writing songs since I was a little kid. Um, but I don't think it was until I was in my like early 20s that I thought that this could be something that my whole life was about. Um, I loved writing and I loved recording and being part of a community, but it wasn't until Dear Voice started that I thought like, oh, this is who I truly am and this is my voice.
Okay. When you got to meet the band, I mean, maybe you had some bands before Dear Boy. You had them?
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Not very good ones, but yes.
When you were with Dear Boy, which was the instant click? I don't know if you were rehearsing any
hmm
specific song where you said, "Yes, this is the family I want to form."
hmm Yeah. Uh, I think the way the band started, I think when you're young, you start bands with your best friends and then you figure out what the music is later. And I had never had that until this. We had all known each other from other bands and we're best friends first.
Mhm.
And we just made the conscious effort to be like, we're all musically single, so let's see what this does. And then as soon as we started working together and writing together, it was very clear that this was my family forever.
And I love the way, I mean, I've seen interviews before of you and videos of you, and you really feel like a best friends, like a family, but also like mixing the music and the passion with the business by being an
Mhm.
independent band,
Yeah.
making all by yourself. Do you have a statement that you have like since day one that made you always get in your feet, like not to lose any one of you, like
Mhm.
maybe saying, I want to quit, or which is the
Mhm.
statement that keeps you, you?
Well, it's honestly, it's a great question. I think it's the only thing that ever really kept us. I mean, because music is crazy. I mean, you know how this is. It's very complicated, and especially when you're in a business and that's your livelihood. There's a lot of factors that complicate things. So I feel like I don't know how I would be able to do this if it wasn't with my friends, because when we were small, there was nothing really big happening, but the little joys are what we found so precious. So anytime we got to play for an engaged crowd or we got to hear a song, even on local radio or anything tiny, or a person bought a shirt, it was like we knew we had done this, just the four of us.
Yeah.
Something like this was so supernatural to happen that we were given this gift to be able to be a part of this community and play our songs for people. So our really honestly, like our core value is that like we keep it precious, like no matter how big we get or anything bad that happens to us, we always know that it belongs to us and no one can take that away from us.
That's beautiful, and we can hear this union of
hmm
everybody just releasing their passion in forever. Sometimes I know that you took like almost a year because you wanted it to be perfect, to show
hmm
all of yourself. So which song was the most challenging in the studio, in the mixing?
I would say, I would say actually Forever Sometimes the single was the hardest song. We had written a version of it years ago and we just had never gotten it right, but it was the second, like one of the last things we recorded for the band for the album. And as soon as we brought it back to life and we started working on it, we spent 2 months on that song. We labored over it because we knew that something in there thematically and melodically, we just knew that that was the missing piece to the record. That and the very beginning of the album, those two things we knew we had to get right because that was our way out of the record.
Mhm, mhm. Now that you're talking, I mean, the moment before Forever Sometimes, and also in the beginning of the record,
Hmm.
nowadays it's not very usual to hear albums with this kind of sweet, well, yeah, musical interludes. Maybe there are songs actually. So
Hmm.
this came as an instinct or a plan idea. I mean, you're saying that maybe it was lacking something, but then it came like a planned song or just an instinct.
We when this album was, I don't know if I would ever make an album like this again because it just took so much. We worked on it for 11 months, 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. We were completely in it. Um, but we were building the album inside out. So we were constantly recording songs and sort of finishing them and figuring out what it was, and we had instincts about what we were doing and kind of, I don't know, we had clues as to what the overall themes were and what the piece was going to sound like. But the interlude, the very opening of the album, Even Song, that was truly the last thing we recorded. We
Wow.
finished Forever Sometimes, and we were looking at the piece as how it was, and we just knew that it needed a mission statement in the beginning. So we wouldn't have had that clarity any other way. That's not something that I think you can plan before you even set out to record. It's like you have to listen to the other 45 minutes of the record and be like, it is missing just one phrase, and the phrase is what completes the whole vision of the album. So um, when we finally recorded that, we knew we had a completed piece, and so yeah, it was not really planned.
Wow. When you got this beautiful and complete piece and you put it in the album cover that it's beautiful by the way, and you
Oh,
shared
thank
it to
you.
your family. So
Hmm.
the first time you heard it with them,
Hmm.
which was the most satisfying to you as a musician?
I it's so interesting when you're making something like this, and especially because when we started recording it, it was 2020, and it took a very long time. But we never, I don't know how to explain this, but when we never thought that it would ever leave that room. Like when we were, it was so private the way we recorded it. It was only the four of us had heard it. No one had ever, so we didn't even know, we had no perspective if it was going to be great or if people were going to respond the way that we were because we were living it. So I think when I played it for my wife, um, the very beginning, as soon as it started, and I saw that I saw that it was resonating immediately. Um, like I could tell that she was engaged with how it brought her into the record, and she teared up right as soon as we started because she knew how I was working so hard on something. And um, there was also like relief, I think, in her face. There was like relief that it was like, "Oh, it's gonna be good." It was a beautiful moment.
Well, that was just a beautiful moment, and I imagine that when she heard Overjoy,
Oh
she
yeah.
maybe got to tears because it's beautiful, Overjoy.
Thank you.
I mean, all the album, but Overjoy to me, it's nice and it gave me like the chill. So if you can recall any song that made you feel like about to break because of
Mhm.
excitement and emotion in being, I mean, when you're on stage, is there any song specific that gets you to the chills?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I am in chills quite a bit. Yeah, I'm infamous for being very emotional on stage. I would say there's a song called Wet Clothes on the record that uh was was pretty much, I would say it's the most important song to me on the album. That and Die are the two that are the most important to me. But with Wet Clothes, that's something that I had been wanting to get right since I started writing it in 2016 or something. But it's an emotion that I think everybody can identify with, which is just a sense memory, like being a trigger into something larger. And for me, it's obviously it's not exactly autobiographical, but the sentiment is very real, where there is just either a feeling or like the idea that just of like being completely drenched in the rain will bring you back to a time when you were with somebody that you really cared about. And it's not the same for everybody, but like that like a smell or a sound or a feeling, like bringing you back to exactly to a place that you're no longer in. That I wanted to write something about that because it's a very important thing for me and for a lot of people. So anytime I play that, I have my own attachments to that song, but like the song itself isn't an emotional trigger now for me.
Wow. I feel like you're very inspired right now. So this is like a quick challenge.
Okay.
So flowers describe maybe forever sometimes or swan dives
Mm-hmm.
as if it was a flower.
As if it were a flower.
Yeah.
I think I would say if I were thinking about swan dives would be the very first flower that you give somebody in a romantic gesture. So it would be like 3 or 4 from your parents' garden, like wrapped in some sort of foil or something, as romantic as you could make something as a young person. And then for forever, sometimes it would just be a single rose, the last flower you give somebody.
Wow. Okay. So we are about to end this interview, but Ben, thank you for your time. Mexican fans, they saw you on Corona Capital and many
Yeah.
festivals, but they're asking, when are you coming by yourself?
This year we will be here this year, I think the first half of 2023, but we're so excited to come back and play this album for you.
It's gonna be great, and I hope to see you there also. And a last question: if you could pick, Ben, any band, any artist from any genre to make a
Mhm.
cover of one of Dear Boy song, which band would you pick and which song?
Oh my God, that's so, oh, I wasn't ready for that question. It could be, that's like a 20-minute answer, but I would say I would love to hear Pulp cover one of our songs.
Whoa.
Pulver, I oh God, I would love to see what Jarvis Cocker would do with one of our songs. That would be very thrilling. That or Blur.
Okay, we're gonna make this viral so it can get to them.
Oh my God, I'm blushing already at the idea. That is so crazy. Okay, cool. All right, let me relax. All right.
Well, Ben, thank you very much for your time. We're gonna keep playing Dear Boy here on Alpha 91.3,
Amazing.
and we hope to see you very soon in Mexico. Thank you for this interview. Thank you for your time.
No, thank you so much for your time. This is an honor.
Well, see you. Ben from Dear Boy here in Alpha 91.3.
Entrevistas Alfa.